Good morning. Good morning. Truth Disclosure 369 in the house once again. Midnight the Battle Cat behind me, resting. Hopefully, all is well. For all those who may come across this video, I greet you in the universal words of peace. Just wanted to get on here once again to just give my little 2 cents on some of the stuff that's been coming out or have ran into. We still in the twilight zone, stuff still like rolling downhill in a negative fashion, and trying to do my best to stay afloat. And I'm hoping that all those are out there doing the same thing. It's a struggle, but hey, gotta always look forward to a change, a proper change. But I just wanted to get on here and start off with let me go to the screen share. Those news that hit off yesterday about the mask mandates for traveling. So I know a lot of people are feeling fine behind that. But the thing about it is, man, it's like a Florida judge. Let me go into this. Mask mandates sudden end sparks confusion and mixed messages. And let me go into the story. The sudden end to the mask mandate for planes, trains, and buses has sparked confusion for travelers. This is what I don't get. Now, this mask mandate was knocked down because I think this administration, it was said that they had wanted to carry it on for 2 more weeks. And this federal judge in Florida struck down that mandate. So White House officials have repeatedly said they still recommend masks based on the CDC guidance. And, which is, from my perspective, the CDC are liars and are also affiliates and co-conspirators in the murders of millions. And we just talking about in this country, where their dominance is at, along with their buddy Fauci, murderers. So I hearing their name don't even register with me anyway. I give a damn what the CDC says. But this is what I don't get. So the federal judge knocked out the mask. For one thing, everything is down according to the lying ass media. Everything is down. Numbers are down. There are no upticks like they've been running around. According to the media, that's in other areas of the world. Now I did hear something about a new variant they talking about trying as making it, but you have to take that shit with a grain of salt. But this is what I don't get. If a federal judge knocked that down, now you got people confused and mixed. Man, what is so confusing about it? A measure that was promoted by the government and a federal judge who is a part of this legislation body, this is the whole part of the whole checks and balances system. This is what's supposed to really be happening. One part of the government, whether it's judicial, is supposed to check the legislature. The legislature is supposed to check the executive branch. I ain't no damn sprung chicken. I ain't fall off the damn fruit wagon. I still do remember some things from school, but this is the whole purpose of checks and balances for when one group begins to act with impunity and with authority it's not given to them according to the Constitution, the same book, the same shit that all of us supposed to be going by. But of course, you know, you can't even say that because, you know, the Constitution, according to what has been written in it, no, man, nobody gives a damn about that. And people that's sitting up here talking about they going with that, or this is the document that shapes this country. That they stopped going according to that years ago. But anyway, how does that create confusion when a federal judge shoots down the mask mandates for all travel? How is that confusing? And all of these airlines and all of these places of, you know, the bus lines and the train, the Amtraks, city buses and stuff, and they're saying if you choose to wear a mask, if you choose to feel uncomfortable and whatever, you can do that. It's just that it's not binding by law anymore that people have to do that. What's so confusing about that? What's so much of a mixed message? How is that sparking shit? The only thing is sparking is motherfuckers who wear masks and who don't want to wear masks continue to keep this shit. I mean, somebody on some side is saying, well, I don't think it's right because we should all still be wearing masks. And it's like, man, motherfuckers gotta stop that shit. These folks got people fucked up, and people who ain't with wearing masks or continue to provoke people who want to wear masks. It's supposed to be live and let live. It's supposed to be respect what they wishes. If they want to wear a mask, let them. Leave them the fuck alone. Continue to treat them like a human being and keep moving. People that ain't with wearing masks, look at it. Do the same shit. Do what you do, respect them, treat them as a human, and keep it moving. What's so confusing about that? What's so mixed messaging about that? It's because people have been so fucking terrified by this bullshit. Motherfuckers don't even know how to think properly no more. And it's sad, man. But after that shit yesterday, they got people going crazy. I mean, they showed footage of many of the people happy that they're doing this. And they actually did interviews with several people. You know, some people agreeing with it. Some people saying that even though they don't they agree with it, they'll still be wearing their masks. And, you know, it's cool that people are allowed to not wear them. You know, they would do it. Even Uber and Lyft drivers, that also affects them as well. So they don't have to wear masks. They don't have to have passengers wearing masks. Same thing. You have people that say, yo, I ain't got no problem with people not wearing no masks. I'm gonna still wear one because I think it's safe for me, but I'm not worried about nobody else doing it. So what is so fucking confusing about that, man? What is so confusing? Why do they want to keep making this shit seem like it's difficult to understand? All these smart ass human beings out here that that know how to tell left from right, up from down. I'm pretty sure you can understand what the fuck happened. I mean, it's just the point that people are so invigorated with wanting everybody to be on the same level as them. It's just it's despicable, man. Damn, when people gonna realize live and let live. Some people ain't gonna want to do the same shit you do. Some people ain't might want to do the same shit you do. But you sitting up here constantly going in about this shit, man. To the point now they're saying, oh, it had, they're talking about the fact that it's a Florida judge with all this stuff going on in Florida with the governor there, and the Don't Say Gay bill and all the bills that's being come out to try and circumvent a lot of crazy shit that's really happening. I don't, their intent remains to be seen. Maybe they're trying to do shit to really speak out on some frivolous stuff that people are constantly involving themselves in, but maybe not. Maybe there's an ulterior motive. But I just wanted to get on that because now, with that being done, I'm pretty sure planes and And you know, they're trying to say also too, they're trying to put the fear mongering out that, oh, that's going to make traveling a little more dangerous because more people, you know, putting that out there, feeding the masses with more fear shit. Just be willing, and the only, if you really cared about society or whatever, you wouldn't be constantly doing shit like this. You would be trying to say, well, people, you know, we have our legislative side has spoken, you know, let's have respect for people and their decisions. Let's have respect for people and their decisions. You know, let's have a ability to move on and say, you don't hear nobody saying that. They don't want that shit. They want people to continue to argue and bicker over this shit while they do other stuff. But I just wanted to start on that because it's ridiculous now how they're doing this shit, you know, when it comes to the whole deal about the mask mandates. And then when you go to the administration's response, it's also stupefying because it's like, why would you continue to want, okay, Biden team, and this is from Bloomberg, Biden team waivers on fight over mask after court setback. My thing is, why would you continue to want something in effect when you see how much division is causing? You see the limited progress it has caused, especially when they keep saying that, well, all the other masks don't work. You have to have an N95. Everybody don't have N95, so everybody had, you know, wearing the cheapos or the little cloth mask or whatever if they choose to wear. But my thing is, if these masks didn't work or they weren't preventing shit, as they say, and if you had to have an N95, which a lot of people didn't have because they didn't have them in stock, or you know, or other things, what is so much of a deal when a Supreme Court judge, a federal judge, comes out, and I'm sorry, it wasn't Supreme Court, it was just a federal judge. A federal judge rules to, no, we're going to stop this. And they put it in play for 2 more weeks. And the judge says, okay, no, we're gonna stop. It's over. It's time. It's done. These games are done. What would be the reason why the fight for on an appeal for that shit? Why? what is the reason? What is the domineering reason why you would want travel to still, anybody traveling to still wear a mask when you have all this information out here that's proven otherwise? Then you have to a point where a federal judge had to say no. Why would you still? And then you had to implement it for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks. So this judge ended it early, basically. Why? What would be the reason why you would still want that shit? So let's go and see what the Biden administration remains at a loss responding to a federal judge ruling striking down a pandemic mask requirement for plane and rail travel, with the White House and various agencies struggling to devise and coordinate a legal strategy more than a day later. The Justice Department said Tuesday that it stood ready to appeal the ruling. Why? What is that? What? I'm not understanding. Why would you, why would, this is something that people have to look at. Maybe somebody can answer that. I don't know. But what would be the need to continue to have that? You already got a 2-week period that you had shit set for. So after the 2-week period, was you intending on re-mandating it and keeping it going another 2 weeks or a month or whatever? I'm not understanding that. Why? What would be the deal? Why you were even trying to attempt to appeal this shit, man. And you know, people are waking up on all type of avenues to a lot of this shit. It's always a blessing to see it. Always a blessing to see it. But you know, it's just stuff that's not random. This is not random stuff. This is stuff that these folks have been doing, and they continue to do it right in front of people's faces. Let's see what this article has to say. This is from the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos' company. Metro drops mask mandate after 700 days and unease follows. After 700 consecutive days of being required to board Metro trains and buses with face masks, some riders approached the mandate's disappearance Tuesday with unease, while others breathed uncovered signs of a relief. I'm a germaphobe, Desha Charles, 34, said through a black hospital mask as she waited for a Green Line train at Georgia Avenue Pentworth Station. I'm not too comfortable with it. I'm going to keep my mask on as much as I can. I don't like it. Now, that's good. What she said is a good thing. If you're a germaphobe, you feel like you need a mask on and you're comfortable with doing it, that's good. More power to her. More respect to her. And that doesn't take the fact away that she's a human being, that she's a person that has the right to make the decisions that she makes. Now let's go to the next sentence. 20 yards away, Stephen Truitt wore white earbuds and no mask as he waited for the same train. He said he didn't mind the mandate, but felt more comfortable now that it was gone. It's carried on for coming up on 2 years at this point, said Truitt, 27, who works in real estate. We moved up here from North Carolina where a mask requirement wasn't generally accepted. We didn't really have too much of an issue when everything started. I don't have an issue now with it. It's just more of a convenience thing for sure. So another opinion. So this person has the right. He doesn't wear a mask. He still has the right to be treated the same fucking way this woman with the mask. And both of them shouldn't be imposing their system on one another. Simple. Just an example of the overall shit that buffoonery that we've been coaxed into doing to one another. So everybody who agrees with wearing masks, man, they had a right to do that shit. What they don't have the right to do is try and promote governments and everything else to make everybody else around them do the same shit, and vice versa. Right now, motherfuckers should be more empowered to question their governments about the dumb shit they're doing than trying to seek any type of actions to try and step on neighbors and fellow citizens of their own country when they know their government is doing crazy ass shit. So I don't even know how that even get in the equation anyway, but you know, it's crazy how they do that. You know, they make it seem like they push it out here. They always got to have unease, confusion, and all this stuff. There's nothing confusing about this stuff. It's simple fucking shit. Simple. Some people like, some people don't. It's not, it shouldn't have never been a law backing none of this shit up all over the planet. But unfortunately it was, and people should have the right to do what the fuck they want to do when it comes to that. And that's the bottom line, like Steve Austin would say. But I wanted to go to something else. I'm gonna get off of that. So we know that the mandates are I think that was the last one, the travel mandates here in this country. So wanted to go to this article. Here we go with the British Prime Minister You know, another one of those hypocrites. It's funny when I see shit like this, you know, these are the same people who say, hey, put your mask on, do all this shit. So let's see what this has to say. It's a Metro. This is a British newspaper. Boris Johnson jeered by angry MPs that he issues groveling apology over parties. Boris Johnson issued a shame-faced apology while appearing in the Commons for the first time since being fined for breaking his own lockdown law. Repeat, since being fined for breaking his own lockdown law. Breaking his own lockdown law. Breaking his own lockdown law. Where was everybody else while he was doing that? On lockdown. In his bruising session, one of his own senior MPs told the prime minister to his face that he should resign and formally called for a leadership election. Mr. Johnson was grilled for 1 week after being issued with a fixed penalty notice for attending a birthday party thrown for him in Downing Street in June 2020. Now, you know, over here in America, this is when the worst, when the beginning of the worst started happening. I lost my parents in April of 2020. They were murdered by this shit. And I don't give a damn what anybody had to say about it. They were murdered. And anybody else who passed away from complications dealing with anything associated with this were murdered. Whether a person want to accept it or not, I have free will and free thought to choose however way I want to feel about it. And that's how I feel about it. I respect anybody else and their opinions, but coming from me, they were murdered. And you got people who sitting up here telling people to do this, do that, and the third, but yet they doing different shit. You know? And it makes you wonder, like, what the fuck? But this is shit that's going on. And, you know, with the hypocrisy and, you know, the more this shit comes out, the more people began to see it. Even people within the political groups all over the world some major people are starting to say shit. You know, they may be silent on some things, but they will speak on some stuff that needs to be spoken on. And that's better than nothing, to not just be silent on all things. But, you know, the one is for all people who in politics, wherever you at across the planet, man, and you seeing bullshit going on with the governors, you know what's happening to the people you supposed to be representing. Shit is being done wrong. It should be you should be emboldened. This should be the time you speak up and stand your ground. Fuck what the rest of the group say, but we know that a lot of them don't give a fuck. You know, they all about themselves. They all about what's going on within their little circles then, and fuck whatever happening to the little guy. So you know, it's a bunch of stuff. But I wanted to go to this that's been trending lately since last month. I've just actually started looking into it last week. And a lot of people who have different channels on YouTube or on some of the different streaming services like Rumble and BitChute and all these different, they have been talking on this subject, and I'm gonna go to it right here. Let me see if I can go. I'm gonna pull it up, and this is what the subject was about. It's this group called Guardians of the Looking Glass. Let me pull it up. Now, I want to touch on this because, you know, this is when a person's discernment and the ability to use wisdom is supposed to bring itself out. The reason why I'm looking out the window because I see them spraying. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, you know, people want to deny it. And then some people question it and know there's something right, but they've been at it adamantly this morning spraying long trails, long contrails, falling chemtrails. They want to, that's what they call them, contrails, but they chemtrails. They can say what they want to say, but um, while I'm on that, been sort of quiet the last couple of days, but today they've started up, and they even making patterns, crisscrossing and all type of stuff, making X's. And it always seems like they do it in the area close, where the sun is at. Where most of the trails are at. They say they're contrails, but I've never known a plane. I've never seen, a plane that does a contrail. They claim is just, the vapors of ice crystals and all this stuff. Similar to when you're out, a human body is out in the cold, and when you breathe and you see your breath coming out, but you ain't walking with no long ass trail hanging behind you for, for 2 or 3 blocks. If you are, then there's something else going on. And it's sort of similar with planes and shit, man. Now, I can only offer my opinion on this. Everybody else could do, who interested in that or have a curiosity on that, could look into. I mean, they got it out here, information on here. You can see where they're definitely just trying to keep you stuck on contrails. But when you got a plane that goes by and it shoots out, and I know I done got off subject, but sitting here looking at this shit, when you got a plane go by and you sit here, you look at it go by, and 30 minutes, 40 minutes to an hour has passed. So that plane is definitely on down the way somewhere. But you look out here, you still see that fucking cloud of smoke left behind from that plane. To think that it's anything associated with ice crystals and all this shit, man, you gotta be crazy. You gotta be fucking detached from reality. You just following along with what these folks telling. But yeah, they kind of busy today. I'm sitting here looking at it. They got this whole area over here toward the backside of the residence. They got it lit up. And matter of fact, let me see if I can see if I can. And I'm gonna pull it. This is how far I can pull it, but yep, they're lighting it up. You can see some right there, and they're getting it in. Now these planes, I've sat here and watched them. I sat here and watched it. Most of those planes been flew by and they've been gone. So we still have that sitting there. But anyway, let's get back to this right here and Project Looking Glass. Now, throughout the years, and this is one thing I always try to pay attention to. Back in the day, I used to always come across different shit that this government has been involved in through secret projects, secret, it's kind of like back in the day, during World War II, you had the Manhattan Project where they was working on the atomic bomb. You had what was it, Project Rainbow, which was basically and don't quote me on this, but I think from what I have looked into, Project Rainbow was about not only no, it was about time travel, if I'm not mistaken. Then you had Project MK Ultra, it was about mind control. You had all these different projects. Project Blue Beam, which is technology that's supposed to cast holograms, holographic images into the environment where everybody can see and think that is an actual event or something happening. It's a whole type of shit. And all these projects, you can look up in Wikipedia like secret projects and all this shit. But over the years, I've been hearing about some of them. One of them was Project Looking Glass. And, you know, back then I ain't really know too much of it, but as time went on, you know, I didn't even know I knew it was some form of prediction of either past or future events. And this was from some type of technology that was discovered. And this goes into what I've been trying to say, and what I've been hearing from other people, and what I try to relay myself from shit that I keep bumping into. These folks been lying about a lot of stuff that technologies and stuff that they really have and that they're really using. The whole thing is they're not letting the masses know, and they're not telling people what this technology is for, what is its uses, you know, is it good, is it bad, you know, is it a way, is it this technology, can this technology help the situation for humanity or make the situation worse? I mean, that's the basic thing. They won't let people know this. They, first of all, they won't even let you know that the technology even exists without, you know, having to go through calling people crazy and calling people this and that, making people feel like, you know, they following some bullshit, and it's furthest from the truth. Now, you know, far as this group right here, I don't really know, you know, it's like a lot of people who just heard this shit. I never heard of them. From what these 3 videos state, it's a lot of stuff in there that coincides with how a person resonates with actions and with stuff that's happening in our society. But who's to say if this stuff is real or not? That's the thing. But one thing I can say is that a lot of stuff resonates, especially with the false flags, operations, and the timelines, and the ability to kind of thwart negative events or intentions before that happen. Now, this all comes in what I've been saying about, and that includes when I speak because I'm learning my damn self, and that means to try and change the way a person thinks that has been brought up in a negative influence world, in which everything has been brought to a person. Everything has to be in a negative standpoint. The worst of everything has to always be put out here. Just like the worst of the pandemic, the worst of racial equality, the worst of this and that. And we always get the worst of all of it, everybody. And it's like the more a person resonates on those lower type thoughts and the negative influences, the more that manifests itself in our reality and by through events. And like I said, these folks know about certain shit. They know how to harness certain shit. They know how to play certain shit because they have technologies, and they know about certain things and how to manipulate it to achieve a certain outcome. And the outcome is always to be in control and enrich themselves and keep human beings dumbed down to a point they won't figure out what the fuck going on. So this is what this brings to light to me. It may bring something to light with each individual, but one of the things I can say from the first video that I went over was the April 18th NYC false flag bombing, which 18th was Saturday. The whole deal was, hopefully if something like that was to happen, which we know false flags, shit like that is not, you know, this stuff is a possibility when you're dealing with liars, hypocrites, corrupt leaders, folks that think they entitled to shit and entitled for their agendas to proceed. And even if it means stirring up shit, starting a war, getting a policy passed, and the only way to do it is to get a reaction through a false flag event. And you know that shit is relevant. Saturday was the 18th. Nothing happened. I am reminded of what happened on April the 12th when the guy who shot up that subway, who was throwing smoke bombs and stuff. A lot of people looked at that. I also looked at how that was in the same time frame, and you never know what else could lead from that shit. So you never know. But the thing is, that's why I try now to send peace and love and wish everybody the best and want peace for everybody and want this shit to transform into what it should have been in the first place, a world in which everyone is exhibiting the attributes of the creator, supreme creator, who is the ultimate creator of all. But it goes on to saying that if that incident was not thwarted, that it could lead into nuclear confrontation with Russia, and it could be all done because of the false flag attacks that the United States started in the first place. And it goes on into biological warfare. It goes on into vaccines. Not only the present vaccines, but there will be more vaccines. So you can't really, when you listen to this stuff, when you actually delve in and you listen to a lot of that stuff, you really don't know could this be a possibility, because you see what's happening in the present and the shady shit that's happening. You never know what could possibly happen. That's one a person could think of. I'm not saying what these folks are saying is true. I'm not saying I agree totally with everything they're saying. All I'm saying is to keep an open mind that shit like this could be a possibility, because these folks lie about every fucking thing. Now, this whole looking glass technology, supposedly from this group, and the claim is this group is a group of people who used to work with either with the military or some type of State Department groups, institutions, and they had access to this shit. They seen it. And there's some technology that was taken from the Middle East, I think Iraq, and it was used. Once they figured out how to work it and they used it, they actually was sitting here looking at future events or timelines, what could possibly happen. But which goes into, they lie about everything, they suppress shit, they lie about giants, they lie about what they take from all these other countries as far as ancient antiquity stuff, and then suppress what it really was used for, Smithsonian included. Everybody kind of bring the Smithsonian up like they really, no, they lie about shit. It's a lot of shit they got their hands in their warehouses on, and they don't want motherfuckers to know what's really up with it. But it goes on that Russia ends up attacking the United States after the United States did what they did, and the United States ends up becoming obliterated by nuclear warfare. Now, even when you talk about nuclear warfare, I don't agree with that. To me, be honest, I don't care, and this is just my opinion, I don't give a damn how much these folks scream about nuclear weapons and the fear mongering they do and the threats that they do about nuclear weapons. I don't believe they will ever be used again, and the reason why I look at not only the history. I mean, the last group to ever use nuclear weapons in a capacity of militarization or in combat is the United States. So right now, the United States solely sits as the only country that ever have used nuclear weapons to kill people. Not only military people, but civilians, because basically that's what it is, majority all civilians. And of course, we know that with Japan and with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The only country that ever used nuclear weapons in a combative manner is the United States. The same country who condemns and wants other people not to have nuclear weapons, so you can't be able to defend yourself if we decide to use them again. Let us just destroy your whole stuff. We don't even want you to have at least one to get off, to at least get some type of get back. No, they don't want to. But this is the only country. But the thing is, over the there have been many stuff that has happened since 1945 that with some of these crazy people in power all over the fucking world. If they had an opportunity to use these fucking weapons, they would have been used them by now. Even if it was a small tactical nuclear missile or something that would keep that damage was limited to a limited square radius or whatever. But you have to also look at the after effects, the radiation, and all that other stuff. But this is the thing. There have always been stories over the years about it, and I'm gonna click off of this and go to another. Over the years about this is why I don't believe that nuclear missiles or nuclear warfare will ever be used again on this planet. There was a time when there was a whole lot of nuclear weapons being affected by outside sources. It wasn't the Soviet Union. It wasn't the United States. Missiles were being taken offline, especially around events in which it seemed like either United States or Soviet Union at the time or any other nuclear power country was getting more unstable to a point that it was getting closer to something that this would be a threat. All of a sudden, the missiles would go offline. Now, let me read this article from the New York Post. This is from today. Not today, but October 21st. Former Air Force chief claims he once saw a UFO firing at nuke missiles launched from secret base. A former Air Force chief claimed today how he saw a UFO firing 4 beams of light at a nuclear missile undergoing testing. And a lot of these people saw this shit like earlier in the years, and they just coming out as years went by and saying shit. Closer they are to their deathbed, it seemed like the more they reveal shit. And so a former Air Force chief claimed today how he saw a UFO firing 4 beams of light at a nuclear missile undergoing testing. Ex-U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Robert Jacobs alleged a crowd resembling a flying saucer circled the dummy warhead during a test flight in California during 1964. And this is a picture of the guy right here. And, I just wanted to just give an example of people's accounts or stories of nuclear weapons being taken offline. Now let's go to this. Oh, wrong one. Let me go to no. Now, this is an article from the History Channel, and many people should know History Channel. Sometimes they put some stuff out that's that has some truth in it. Maybe have a lot of distortions, but there's some truth. So this is a story from 2019 from the History Channel. Why have there been so many UFO sightings near nuclear facilities? It started in the 1940s near A-bomb developmental sites. More recently, something has been stalking nuclear carrier strike groups. Why are so many UFOs being reported near nuclear facilities? And why isn't there more urgency on the part of the government to assess their potential national security threat? That would be a good question. Why is that? And to be honest, if you're a citizen of a country and you know your government have highly dangerous nuclear weapons in places, and you have foreign shit that's around this stuff that they have no idea what it is. It's not the so-called enemies of your country. So what is it? But they're around shit they know can cause a bunch of destruction. It seems like people should be alarmed. Why wouldn't that information be out long enough so that people can understand? Damn, well, okay, what is that? Why is that not being considered as something that's important or of urgency? So it goes on to say, let me go back. Those are questions being asked by a team of high-ranking former U.S. defense and intelligence officials, aerospace industry veterans, academics, and others with to the STARS Academy of Arts and Science. And then it goes on into, in the last 75 years, high-ranking U.S. military intelligence personnel have also reported UAPs near sites associated with nuclear power, weaponry, and technology, from the early atomic bomb development and test sites to active nuclear naval fleets. And I'm gonna end it there. So what is the deal? And this is going to key into that nuclear the disaster that is seen in this looking glass technology, according to this group. And this is where I disagree with it at, despite the timeline that they say it is. And there's one more example I want to go to, Richard. Hold on, get out of here. All right. I'm gonna go to oh shit, no, go. I want the video. Let's see. I want to make sure I get the right information here, Richard. Okay, let's see. If I can find this. Okay, here we go. Now, this is just complete, this is something that I follow as well. And, everybody had their own interpretation or their own, whether it resonates or don't. A lot of this resonates with me. I don't agree with everything, like I said, but and keeping it with the same fashion of this nuclear calamity attached to that looking glass outlook, have to also go to the history of what you would call hollow earth or middle earth, and the case of Admiral Richard Byrd. Now, Admiral Richard Byrd is a real Navy admiral that was doing stuff during World War II, that led expeditions to Antarctica under the guise of different tasks. But what they really was doing was trying to find out what Nazis were doing in Antarctica, which a lot of people don't probably even know it. Nazis were all in Antarctica. They was trying to find different shit, hidden cities, all type of stuff. Under the Nazi reign with Hitler in Germany. And because of that threat, the United States was using Admiral Byrd and to use expeditions to find out what's going on. So Admiral Byrd supposedly in a diary met some, and this is, I'm gonna go to this picture here. This is supposedly Agartha, land of advanced races. And if you look at this picture here, now, you know, who's to say? The reason why I resonate on a lot of stuff like this is because we really don't know what the fuck is really going on with this world. We really don't know what the fuck is going on with us as a people. We really don't really know what's going on with our surroundings, space and everything. Everything that we see is directly given to us from sources that right now we look at as untrustworthy. I mean, I do. How can you believe what fucking organizations say that's promoting people to do shit with their bodies that they don't want to do, or forcing people to do this and forcing people to do that? How can you accept what they're saying about everything else as being true and concrete? So this picture right here shows is supposedly the Earth. And it's like we always get a picture of the Earth. Yo, this is when the flat earthers and the round earthers. I don't get into that argument. I mean, to me personally, the Earth is the whatever shape the ancients said it was. If the ancients, if somebody that was living in BC times and they was able to write this shit or express it in text or on walls of caves and all this shit. How they got that information, this goes into another story. But if they were able to do it, then that's actually what the Earth was. I can't even go by what the fuck NASA and all that shit because they fucking liars. But obviously the Earth is some type of spirit. I can't even say that it's fully a spherical. Because one thing about it, and this is something people don't understand, they don't really notice, they never fly over the poles. They don't even allow people to fly over the North or South Pole area. Antarctica has a no-fly zone over a certain span of area, as well as the area up north that would be considered the Arctic and North Pole area. There are areas that you are now allowed to fly over. Why? That's a big question. Some people don't even know that. So in this picture, you see like there's an opening at the top and the bottom. And you see within there, you have a central sun, you have man-made tunnels, forests, spaceships, all type of shit. You know, who's to say? I don't know. I'm not going to say this shit real or not. You had the city of Shambhala, which was actually a place that some of the ancients, especially those Tibetan monks and those that practiced a lot of the Eastern Asian religions, Buddhism and stuff like that. This is the Shambhala was one of those places that would be considered heaven to them. They said this place existed. Cave city of semi-advanced races. And then you have out here, you got different areas on the top of the crust, which we would be on. Kentucky Mammoth Cave, that's an actual place in Kentucky. Every time I drive through there, drive past them signs. Then you have the pyramids, you have Mount Ipamo in Italy. You had different stuff that's graphed on here. So what Richard Byrd did in his diary supposedly, and also Richard Byrd was a Mason. He was part of secret groups and everything. And being a Navy man, you know, certain stuff you had to be careful what you said. So supposedly he met with a man called the Master, a being. And these beings down there are supposedly called Agarthians. And he met with a group and the guy that was over them supposedly told him about why he was allowed to see them and be revealed. They were revealing themselves to him. So let me go. He met the master, the city's leader, who told him of his concerns about the surface world. Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the Fluoroguards, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity, but now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed. So it goes on to say, apparently the government knew about Agartha before Bird. So this is supposedly a section in the diary that's referencing the conversations that this being had with Admiral Byrd. And if you look up Admiral Byrd, you look up Operation High Jump, and there was actually 2 times he went to Antarctica. You'll find all this information, but it's something that leads into what is the deal with nuclear power, weapons, whatever, and other beings or other there's outside interference when coming with that. And this is what I think. And I think nuclear power weaponry has always been here. They just don't want to acknowledge the fact that that's been around us the whole fucking time. Humans in our relative modern eye were allowed to have this knowledge, but this knowledge was used for purposes more than it should have been used for. You know, for even the prospect of using nuclear energy has dangerous outcomes or results behind that, because ain't no telling how much of this stuff is leaking out or what damage it could do to the environment or whatever. But you have other stuff I heard don't want people to be fucking with nuclear arms, because in history there have been some shit. And I looked at some things that deal with Atlantis, ancient civilizations that they try to consider as myths, but yet they still have information on these places like Atlantis and Lemuria, and places that even places in other planets that look like have been affected by a nuclear blast. So it's been stuff that's been happening with this technology, and has destroyed shit. And it has an effect not only here on this planet, in this realm, but it has an effect, it ripples in space and time, however else you want to say that, and it affects other areas. And they don't want that shit. The folks don't want that bullshit. They don't want motherfuckers playing with shit with disregard to the truth and the power behind it. And because of that, you know, they've been taking upon themselves to shut shit down and everything. See, my humans won't listen. They led by a negative cabal that continues to keep their people deceived all the way, and they would do it all the way into a nuclear war, which would affect not only us human beings on this planet, but that shit would have rippling effects everywhere in the places that we don't see. And these folks don't want that shit. And they know that. That's what I think it really is. Why there have never been any other nuclear incidents outside of the leaks and the disasters at Chernobyl and Fukushima, which also brought out a lot. Even with those incidents, looking into the UFO, UAP thing, they were seen. So, you know, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but so when you go to that looking glass, I don't agree with that part. I don't think nuclear war would ever happen, because There is stuff out here. There is creation out here who are willing and able to stop that shit from happening. And really, to be honest, I'm indebted. I'm grateful for it. You know, a person should be happy you got something else out here that's basically trying to look out. But I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much. But it goes on with Admiral Byrd that they warned him about that, and he was supposed to come back, and you know, of course, that didn't happen. The Cold War started, and then the Soviet Union and the United States started building their arsenals. So as you go back to this event one about the nuclear thing, you know, I really have to disagree on that. Agree to disagree. I don't think they would come to that point because there are beings out here looking out, and there are some out here that are actually trying to go into that stage. And while they're doing that, you have others who are like, no, we're not doing that. That's my take. Then we go to event two, the assassination of that doctor who's a Chinese, used to be a Chinese military advisor and scientist, which, you know, who has a technology, who's working on stuff, no different than how Tesla was working on stuff. He had the blueprints to tap in the energy all across the planet free. Nobody had to wait on bills. Nobody had to struggle to say, well, I'm gonna pay my light bill or go without or pay for food. Nobody had to do that shit. If a lot of Tesla stuff was all this shit was put out there like it should be. So, you know, if that information hadn't been out here, this world could have been different. So who's to say? This Dr. Wu may have technology, may have information to stop certain shit. And these folks don't want this man alive. I can't deny, I can't say that that's not a possibility. With these folks who lied and they have assassinated people for different shit. And it may play out as a plane crash. It may play out as a fucking a chemical attack, anything, man. These folks are lying about a lot of shit. And when you know that shit, then the possibilities of anything are open. Now to the 2030. 2030 seems to always pop up in a lot of shit. You had Agenda 2021, you have Agenda 2030. And it seems like in all the conspiracy circles, so-called conspiracy circles, 2030 is a significant year. I've noticed this over the years of just my limited looking into stuff. 2030 is always a significant year. And it seems like there's nothing even brought up past 2030. Majority of this time is 2030, 2030, 2030. Do I agree with a lot of what's said in this one? There's a possibility that, like I said, some of it may be accurate or some of it not. Who's to say? But as far as the vaccines, this stuff begins to talk about another vaccine that came out, and that the elites were using vaccines because they knew that something was going to happen that will cosmically that will affect a change. Now that's what I do resonate with. And even now, as we speak, the sun continues to have solar flares after flares over the past couple of months. Now, what this says is that it'll be a singularity event which will cause an awareness, an awakening of everybody, not just some, but those that previously took these vaccines or whatever would be killed. That's what they said in this thing. So, you know, that's a harsh thing to have a realization of, that because of this event, which would solar flash or whatever happened, whatever these vaccines that people had took would cause unnatural events in their body. in their DNA and all that shit. And because of that, when this flash or whenever this singularity event would happen, they would immediately have compromised their systems and would not be able to take the force or the brunt force of this, which they could be able to take naturally. But because of the vaccines, that's have upended that, and they would be killed. And those that hadn't taken the vaccine will be awakened to a point where certain things, DNA-wise, conscious-wise, would unlock. And people would start seeing shit and hearing shit and feeling ways that they never felt. And it's because of this singularity event. And the elites at that time also would know, and they would be doing shit to advance their agenda. So they would be taking shit so that they would be also affected, but they will be affected to a point that theirs is modified over those that already had that didn't have a vaccination, that just did it naturally. And they will be powerful and still holding on to their agendas, and they would try to move against those who are still here, that have become awakened and all this shit. So I actually could see that in being worked on in behind closed doors, because I've always resonated on the fact that these vaccines that they've been pushing for what we know that we're in right now, when you're sitting up trying to tell people to take shit, when there's no sense behind taking shit, and you're forcing people to do shit, you're forcing people to make a choice, you're doing all this stuff. When you're doing that, then that leads credence to stuff like this. Like, okay, if they'll do that, then who's to say? What is the reason behind why you're really doing that shit? And so, you know, it makes it different. But like I said, this is only my opinion. Just like this Guardians of the Looking Glass, there's a lot of stuff that I resonate with because I know these folks lie about shit. And there's a lot of stuff that's still questionable. And there's some things I don't disagree, that I do disagree with. That's with the potentiality of nuclear war. There's stuff, I'm gonna put it this way. The creator is not gonna allow that to happen again. To me, my opinion. So people get caught up in fear and the fear mongering and the politics of that shit, and you start trying to bring that shit into existence, you know, it's not gonna happen. That's how I feel. But I've always felt like it's something happening, is coming down the pipe, and it's gonna be something that's naturally gonna affect this planet. And these folks know that. And I've been said this shit. These folks know something is going to, people are already waking up to certain shit. They're already becoming aware and conscious to shit, some shit is off. But these folks know that there will be an event that's going to wake everybody up. Everybody will have the information. Everybody will be awakened to a point. All things will be exposed for what it is, including the truths of the planet, people, human beings, everything around us, seen and unseen, and the agendas and all that shit that's been going on. And these folks know that, and they've been doing shit to try and keep this shit from happening. And that's something I said a few years back. Man, they're gonna try and, I'm telling you, man, these folks know something's gonna happen. They want people, they don't want people to spiritually evolve. That's my take on it. They don't want people to spiritually evolve. They want people to still be stuck fighting and engaged in bullshit arguments, engaged in watered down religious rhetoric that's been watered down and distorted from the original purposes, and these bullshit ass lying ass political games. They want people to still be stuck in it. They don't want people to really spiritually, consciously evolve. And because of that, they come up with ways to keep that shit from happening when a natural event come about to spur that shit or to hasten human beings to evolve. Because we're not supposed to be stuck in this situation, my opinion. We're not supposed to continue to be living and dying like this, generation after generation, with all type of corruption and wrong going on around us, and we just sitting here letting okay in that shit. That's not supposed to happen. That's not. It's not supposed to happen like that for no infinity and all that other shit. That shit that was for a specific period of time, and that time may or may be at hand. Who's to say? But the one thing about it is we have to change our thoughts. We have to change the way we think. What I do agree with the Guardians of the Looking Glass and is the fact that in order to thwart certain negative intentions, a person have to just look the other way, do positive shit, think positive shit, show more love, show more concern for human beings, show more concern for injustice to all, not just injustice to one group, but all. Martin Luther King said it. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday who repeated it. It's the same thing. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So you know, when everybody starts looking at shit like this, then those that are in power, the cabal, the elites, the ones that use negative influence and all that shit, they have a power that they will have trouble in standing because everybody's not accepting that negative type of shit no more. And they're not looking at when you turn down hatred for love, unconditional love, or you turn down war for peace, or you turn down greed for doing what you can to help others. You know, while you living in a world where majority of the people, they just doing what they can for themselves and fuck everybody else while they telling people how to live. You know, that's what's going on. The only way to change that shit is to change the way you're thinking. We are the ones empowering these folks. We gave them power over everybody, especially here, man. We gave these for everything that's happening is because of garbage ass politicians and the agendas that are floating on both sides of the aisles, and the money that's behind them folks, and the groups that's behind the money, and the ability for people to not see this shit and continue to ignore, deny, and embolden these folks by continuing to give them power, continue to pass over their sovereignty to these fake ass rulers and leaders and lying ass politicians and hypocrites, like I say all the time. Only way to defeat that shit is stop giving these folks your power. Start seeing it for what it is. The IRS, theft. It's a group that's stealing from everybody. Still waiting on tax returns. They're stealing. What are they doing with the money? People got to start asking this shit. Start calling it out for what it is. So that's my take on Guardians of the Looking Glass. And I'm actually grateful this came out because there's so much information in these things. And I've also seen people that go into groups and channeling groups and other, you know, they actually been speaking on this because this group just came out of nowhere. And these 3 videos, but there is some interesting stuff in them, and they're really stuff in these things that a person should take heed of because it's really showing that it's stuff going on, and you know these folks lying about shit. So who's to say? But anyway, I just want to get on here and share that. And let me go to this real quick. This is actually a PDF, The Looking Glass, Visually Projecting Yourself to the Past. It's actually given like a summarization. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but summarization of this looking glass technology, which is computer. You hook it up. It goes to computers. You hook it to computers and stuff. And this is supposed to be an interactive installation exploring a limited time traveling technique. It projects a user to a captured scene in real time. So, you know, and it's much more stuff that's on the Looking Glass project, a user into the captured scene as a ghost, like blue figure, while the captured scene is tinted yellow for them. And the thing about it is, we don't know what the hell the military has been hiding for so many years at behest of this government. You know, we don't know how many people who've been in the military, who've been around secret projects or secret shit. Some of them have came out and spoken on even about UFOs or extraterrestrials or just strange shit that witnessed. And of course, you know, they they can only say so much. But who's to say what they actually have, man? These folks nobody can really argue this shit. These folks lie about everything. So how can you say, no, that's bullshit, that's a hoax? How can you say that? Why? Because they said it. They lied about this. They lied about that. They lied about certain wars that a person engaged in. And since I brought that up, I'm gonna go to this right here. Vietnam was a conflict. It never was really stated a war, but it was a conflict. But a lot of people consider it a war. A lot of men lost their lives, 58,000. My pops served in Vietnam. Many people of my generation, their family, their, a lot of people, their parents, or uncles or somebody, and they served in Vietnam. And the thing about it is, when you think about it, when I remember the stories my dad used to say, or when I think of or I see documentaries on it and everything, you have that it was a war that was deeply unpopular. People here were going crazy about it. Then you had some, one that really were patriotic. Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. But the whole aspect of all that shit, now, you talking about 58,000 casualties, dead, many more wounded, missing limbs and psychologically damaged, and civilians. Them numbers were off the charts because the bombing. Vietnam was the most bombed country out of any other war that was implemented that was partaken in by the United States. Any of them. That include World War II, World War I, all of the stuff been going on, the Iraq wars, Korean War, anything in which they had the technology to fly and start dropping bombs. Vietnam was the only country that had the most bombs dropped on it in any war fought by this country. So you can imagine the toll that was taken by civilian life. And all of it was started because of the Gulf of Tonkin resolution or incident in which supposed ship was attacked, destroyed, which gave the United States the ability to go ahead and go to war, or introduced them into the going to war, and gave them the will to want to go. And then it comes out later on that they lied about it. So let's see. So you got 58,000 people gone from service-wise. You got no telling how many thousands of Vietnamese civilians were killed. And not even to mention a lot of the hostilities that were going on where, people were just losing their mind, killing civilians, different shit, like the Malay massacre, and then the cover up behind it. But in 1964, the United States entered the Vietnam War after reports of an unprovoked attack in the Gulf of Tonkin. But the reports were false, and the president knew it. In August 1964, the USS Maddox destroyer was stationed in the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of North Vietnam. So how do you live in a world where shit like this happened, and then your government comes out and says that it didn't happen, yet people don't be like, well, don't you think that shit fucked up that you had all these folks go out here fighting this war, and the reason why it started was because of an attack that never did happen? I mean, what other there may have been diplomacy or other options available to keep from going to war if people had known the truth about that from the get-go. So why would you just bring that shit out years later from the Johnson administration, who claimed that boat was attacked, and then years later say it wasn't, and then motherfuckers don't look at it like, damn, so all them folks fought a war for nothing to get communists out of there? get the fuck out of here. And a lot of shit in the Vietnam War never made sense from looking at a lot of things. You know, a lot of the objectives didn't make sense. People were dying to secure objectives that were, after days of fighting and men dying, the objective was relinquished. And motherfucker, and a lot, that's why, you know, including my dad used to tell me about it. That's why it was a lot of hard feelings in Vietnam. It wasn't like during World War II, you had all the soldiers were together. They were more in tune with one another. They was fighting the enemy. They was going after. In Vietnam, motherfuckers had all type of shit going on. You had blacks who really didn't want to be around white folks who really, but you know, during the fighting, they came together. But at the same time, while they're fighting, they realized they being sent on fucking suicide mission and beginning to see, goddamn, what the fuck? And so that's when they started fragging and doing all that shit, throwing grenades in the CO's bunks and and shacks and shit, because they were sick of that shit. They felt like motherfuckers was sending them out to die for no reason. And one of them, for example, I remember that movie Hamburger Hill, and if you go in and you look at that shit, that's one of this crazy stuff that would happen. Like, why would you continue to fight for hills and all this shit, lose all these men, and then once you get the shit, you let it go? And then the motherfucking enemy, who you claim as the enemy, are right back in there. That makes no sense. But you know, when you got governments that can do shit like that, and then firmly admit shit like that, and we go right here, after decades of public skepticism and government secrecy, the truth finally came out in the early 2000s. Nearly 200 documents were declassified and released by the NSA. About that shit right there was a fucking lie. And I remember this guy here, McNamara, was one of the main tools that were trying to push America into that war. And then it came out later on that he was like, he regretted that shit. Yeah, so if you know that motherfuckers are guilty of doing shit like this, it's not no one-time appearance. Well, you know, not no one-time thing. They've been doing it and they're still doing it. So that's why when it comes to the looking glass thing, and this technology, somehow they, you know, was able to be, as they say it is, they claim it's able to be hooked up to computers, and you could actually see timelines of what could possibly happen. So whether it is or not, you know, the debate still stands, but we know these folks lie about every fucking thing. At least I do. I'm just trying to be a voice out here so that people who stuck on one way, who see shit one way, can at least have opportunities. Sometimes you got to question some things and look into some stuff. So I just wanted to get on that because the Guardian of the Looking Glass is the Looking Glass project was real. In my opinion, the shit was real. But this Guardian of the Looking Glass group, you know, ain't no telling what's going on with this right here. But everything they're talking about, there's some seriousness attached to this shit. So it's something to make a person open their eyes. I just want to get on here and share this. Hope everyone continue to recognize peace and love is the only way. We all struggling. I know I am a work in progress, trying to avoid a lot of this shit that they're doing. Person, you need to stand in their own truth, stand in their own power. I don't respect any of this shit these folks is doing. That's me. Anybody have their own opinions or whatever, but I don't respect nothing they're doing. You know, and I wish the best and hope the best for everyone, that this world could change for the better for everybody. And with that, I greet you as I came in the universal words of peace.